In this video, we are going to learn about the Keith-Wagner grading of hypertensive retinopathy. Topics like these are very volatile. You learn it today and you'll forget it in like 2 or 3 days. So we'll try to explore the reasoning and concept behind each finding and try to understand everything logically and be able to retain it for a very long time. So let's get started. We have 4 grades of hypertensive retinopathy, but before we dive deep into each one of them, there is a single concept or a single phenomenon which is the root cause of almost all the findings which is seen in hypertensive retinopathy. So that is arteriosclerosis. Basically, hypertension converts our retinal arterioles, the retinal blood vessels, into a very thin pipe with a very thick wall. So this will make much more sense once we start discussing the individual findings. So coming to the grade 1 of hypertensive retinopathy, firstly we have generalized or diffuse arteriolar narrowing or attenuation. This occurs initially due to vasoconstriction as a protective response to protect the retinal capillaries from the very high blood pressure. But later it is due to vascular remodeling, arteriosclerosis and hyaline deposition, because of which we have narrowing or attenuation of arterioles. Then we have broadening of arteriolar light reflex. The normal arteriolar light reflex is very thin and central light reflex because of the blood which is present in the blood vessel. But because of hypertension, the wall of the arteriole is thickened. It becomes more shiny, it becomes more reflective, and it also becomes more opaque. Because of which, in hypertension, the arteriolar light reflex becomes more broad and shiny. Another feature of grade 1 hypertensive retinopathy is vein concealment at AV crossing. Imagine this as a retinal vein and this as a retinal arteriole, and this is an area of AV crossing. Normally, you should be able to see the vein which is under the arteriole through the arteriole, because the wall is also thin and the blood column is also very thin. But in hypertensive retinopathy, because of the thickening of the wall of the arteriole, you won't be able to see the vein under the artery at the area of AV crossings. So we'll just revise all the 3 features of grade 1 hypertensive retinopathy. So we have generalized arteriolar attenuation, broadening of arteriolar light reflex, and concealment of the vein at the AV crossings. Coming to grade 2 hypertensive retinopathy, we have marked or severe generalized arteriolar attenuation. That is, arteriolar narrowing, which we saw in grade 1 hypertensive retinopathy, is more pronounced or more severe. And we can also see arteriolar narrowing, which is more in some areas than the other arterioles. That is focal arteriolar attenuation. Then we have the named sign called Salus sign. Suppose this is a retinal vein and this is an arteriole and this is an area of AV crossing in the retina. Normally nothing happens in this area. The artery just pumps blood into the retina and the vein is draining blood from the retina, and nothing significant happens at the AV crossing. But in the case of hypertension, because of the thickening of the wall, that is arteriosclerosis, the artery is very stiff and it pushes down the vein like this. The vein is kinked, the vein is deflected, or the vein is bent at the areas of AV crossing. So this is called as Salus sign. So coming to grade 3 hypertensive retinopathy, we have copper wiring. Because of hypertension, the wall of the arteriole not just thickens, but it also starts to opacify. This affects how light reflects off the arteriole and it gives its characteristic orangey or a copper color. So that is copper wiring. Then we have the bonnet sign. Imagine this is a retinal vein and this is a retinal arteriole and this is an area of AV crossing. Normally, the retinal vein will drain the blood from distal to the proximal area. But in the case of hypertension, because of the thickened arteriole, because of arteriosclerosis, what happens is the arteriole will compress the vein at the AV crossings, because of which there is an obstruction to the venous return. As a result of this, there is distension and dilatation of the vein which is distal to the area of AV crossing. So this is called as bonnet sign. We have the gun sign. So if this is the area of AV crossing, the retinal vein appears tapered on either side of the AV crossing because of compression by the retinal arteriole. We also have some other findings like flame-shaped hemorrhages, which is because of endothelial injury. And then we have cotton wool spots. See, in hypertension, because the lumen of the arteriole is compromised, the blood supply is compromised, there is ischemia of the nerve fibers in the nerve fiber layer. So because of ischemia, there is a lot of edema and there is also some amount of nerve fiber death. So these cotton wool spots, which are also known as soft exudates, are nothing but the neuronal debris in the nerve fiber layer. Then we have hard exudates, which is nothing but lipid deposition in the outer plexiform layer. So because of endothelial injury or endothelial damage, the lipids which are present in the retinal blood vessels, they get deposited in the outer plexiform layer. So if you look at the blood supply of retina, there are like 3 plexuses at different levels of the layers of retina. And the deep retinal plexus, it lies at the level of outer plexiform layer. So it makes sense that the lipids which come out of the blood, they get deposited in the outer plexiform layer. So in grade 3 hypertensive retinopathy, we have copper wiring, we have bonnet sign, we have gun sign, we have retinal hemorrhages, and then we have soft exudates or cotton wool spots, and then hard exudates. So finally, the grade 4 of hypertensive retinopathy, we have silver wiring. So the concept here is the same as that for copper wiring, but the vessel wall is even more thicker and it's more opaque, and the lumen is also very small. So the blood inside this retinal arteriole will not be visualized and will not contribute to the way this vessel appears. So because of which it is seen like a silver wire. So finally we have papilledema, which is nothing but edema of the optic disc. So on fundoscopy, we can see the margins of the optic disc become very ill-defined. This occurs when the autoregulatory mechanisms of the retinal arteriole are overwhelmed by the very high increase in blood pressure. This usually occurs when there is very acute and severe increase in blood pressure, such as malignant hypertension, leading to endothelial damage and edema. One more thing which can contribute towards papilledema is when there is hypertensive emergency and hypertensive encephalopathy, that is, there is end organ damage, there can be increase in intracranial pressure, and we all know that papilledema is a very important sign of increased intracranial pressure. So in grade 4 hypertensive retinopathy, with all the signs of grade 3 hypertensive retinopathy, we have papilledema and silver wiring. So before we end this video, just look at the slide for some time, look at all the findings in all the grades. If you observe carefully, there is a progression of findings through the grades of hypertensive retinopathy. So what I'm trying to say is, generalized arteriolar attenuation in grade 1, it progresses to severe arteriolar attenuation in grade 2. Just like that, broadening of arteriolar light reflex, which is a vessel wall change, it progresses to copper wiring in grade 3 and silver wiring in grade 4. And vein concealment at AV crossing, it progresses to Salus sign in grade 2 and gun and bonnet sign in grade 3. And one more thing, Salus sign, only Salus sign is in grade 2, and the two other named sign, that is gun and bonnet sign, they are in grade 3. The way I remember this is, if you can invert the letter S, it looks like the number 2. So Salus sign is in grade 2 hypertensive retinopathy. So we'll do a quick recap. So in grade 1 hypertensive retinopathy, we have generalized arteriolar attenuation, broadening of arteriolar light reflex, and then concealment of vein at AV crossing. Then in grade 2 hypertensive retinopathy, we have marked generalized and focal arteriolar attenuation, and then Salus sign. In grade 3, we have copper wiring, we have gun sign, we have bonnet sign, we have flame-shaped hemorrhages, and we have cotton wool spots and hard exudates. In grade 4 hypertensive retinopathy, we have papilledema and silver wiring. I really hope this video has helped you get some clarity on this topic. So if it has, then please do consider subscribing and sharing this with your friends and colleagues. Thank you.